I will admit to enjoying acting as co-counsel in a personal injury claim. I've done so for a good part of the last 30 years with lawyers from across Ontario, Canada, United States, and even internationally. When you are in Niagara Falls and you have 14 million tourists coming to your town every year, people have a way of getting injured and going back to wherever they live. So that leads naturally to developing co-counsel relationships with other lawyers whose clients have come to our fair city and have been injured while they've been staying here. One of the reasons I enjoy doing co-counsel work is that I enjoy teaching. I enjoy mentoring and giving a lawyer who is skilled in litigation the tools that are necessary to practice personal injury law. Personal injury law is an unusual combination of at least four things. One is a knowledge of law, and particularly litigation. A second is a knowledge of the insurance industry. A third is the knowledge of medical pathology and physiology and anatomy, so the world of medicine. And fourthly is the skill of salesmanship. Because in personal injury, what we're really doing is we're selling a claim, we're selling a file to an insurance company for the purposes of settlement. What we have found over the years is that some of the very best results that we've achieved have been in matters of co-counsel relationships. Frankly, two heads are better than one. And we find that when you can have two lawyers combine concerted efforts on a file, you end up with a product which is more than twice as good as if one lawyer were to look at it. The principle of synergy operates. 1 + 1 is not 2, but rather it's 5. By combining forces and having different perspectives that we can bring into a co-counsel relationship, it's amazing the results that we've been able to achieve. Over the years, I've done a number of trials with lawyers in different parts of Ontario, and we've had some extraordinary results on those. Not only ones that have gone to full verdict with juries, ones that have been decided by judges, and cases which have stopped partway through a trial because the defense threw in their cards realizing that the case was going very poorly from their perspective and very well from ours. But over the years, I've made a number of tremendous relationships with a number of lawyers who I now call my friends, that I've dealt with for sometimes decades. And you know, when you practice law and it can be a stressful situation, running your own business is never easy. Clients can be demanding. The mistress of law is jealous. It's nice to be able to enjoy what you're doing. And I have found some of the most enjoyable work I've done over the years is working with some extraordinary men and women, particularly across Ontario and Canada, as we have combined forces in dealing with claims. The other thing that I have found is that because the files that we enter into tend to be of a more serious nature, we can really give a value-added product. One of the things that I've always really enjoyed over the years is understanding an injury from the perspective of medicine. Because if you don't know the right questions to ask concerning any particular complex of injuries, you don't know what answers you're going to get. In fact, if you don't come up with the right questions, you're not going to get the right answers. So we pour a lot of time into understanding the nature of the injury, why a particular fracture may have particularly serious overtones, why there can be dire future implications, the risks of surgery, the prospect of a degenerative process becoming worse over time. A lot of injuries are very complex in the manner in which they will impact an individual, and each one is unique. What they do for a living, the kind of job they put their mind to, is important to understand to know how the injury will affect them. For example, someone may have a lower back injury, and one may be tempted to think that because someone has a desk job, that plaintiff is better off because, after all, they don't have a heavy job. But little does one suspect that the static pressure of prolonged sitting can be the worst possible thing for a lower back injury. What we've found too is that lower extremity injuries to knees, to ankles, can be very troublesome because it changes the ability of one to ambulate. The way a plaintiff gets around, the way they walk, the way they will climb stairs, their ability to run, will all be affected by injuries to knees and to ankles and even to low backs. The gait of that person will often change. You can see them limping. And when that happens, we know immediately that we need to refer them to a series of experts to look into issues like foot orthotics, orthopedic shoes, compression stockings, braces of various sorts. And those are expensive. They often are not covered by collateral insurance. And over the lifetime of a plaintiff, that can run up to thousands of dollars of future care costs. So looking for these little kinds of things is important. When dealing with a shoulder injury, realizing that there's 6 planes of movement that a shoulder will go through, and how one can compensate and actually be stronger in one of those planes of movement but weaker in others. Typically that will involve a tear, either partial or complete, of a rotator cuff tendon. And when we know that has occurred, we will know immediately there's a variety of consequences that are associated with that injury. The same is true for a brain injury and how cognitive deficits will result when someone has hurt their brain. And yet many of these things are very difficult to diagnose unless the right test is done. Sometimes that will be an MRI, sometimes an ultrasound, sometimes it will be done by a neuropsychologist who will do neuropsychological testing. But so many different complexes of injury have a different approach to take. Doing personal injury law isn't a cookie-cutter kind of approach. It is demanding, it's complex, it's detail-orientated like crazy. But to be able to do this coming alongside another lawyer as we pour through these cases is extremely satisfying. I hope to be working with you in this pursuit of our co-counsel relationship.